Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from Stockwell in South London to Victoria in Central London. This ride takes about 15 minutes and you can do the whole thing on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes. By public transport, the same journey takes around 12 minutes on the superfast Victoria line, but cycling is still a really competitive way to make the same trip thanks to a new backstreet route that's just opened up through Westminster. If you find this video useful or you just enjoy watching it, then please don't forget to hit subscribe on the channel, as I try to post new videos just like it every week. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to everyone who supports the channel on Patreon. If you're feeling generous and you'd like to contribute as well, then you can find a link in the description below the video. Alright, let's get going. So we're starting at the crossroads outside Stockwell tube station, and we're going to turn around and cut straight down Binfield Road. The street has a buses only entry restriction at the end we just entered it at, which means that the whole thing is really quiet and doesn't have any through traffic on it. As a result, it's a really nice place to ride a bike. On your right, keep an eye out for Stockwell Bus Garage, a cathedral-like modernist building with vaulted concrete ceilings. If you ever get a chance to take a peek inside there, you absolutely should. It's a really cool place if you like that sort of thing. Make sure you take care as you cross into Guildford Road, as Lansdowne Way, which is the street you're crossing, does have quite a bit of traffic on it and is quite wide at that point. It would be nice to have some sort of crossing to help you get over there. Once you're on Guildford Road, it is relatively quiet though, and you shouldn't expect any traffic on here. The only thing to watch out for are the speed cushions on the floor, which are badly placed and encourage you to swerve into the door zone of the parked cars. It would be great to see them replaced with something like this. That's a sinusoidal speed hump. It's a lot less unpleasant to ride over on a bike, but also slows down cars. For the middle section of this route, we're going to be picking up the signed cycle route Cycleway 5, and you can see that C5 is written on the ground at various points next to a cycle symbol, and there are also these green and blue signs pointing you in the right direction, so you shouldn't get lost. This section of C5 runs through the Oval Triangle low traffic neighbourhood. The area was recently redesigned with a traffic scheme that removes through traffic from all the streets here, so you can generally count on it being really quiet with traffic levels low enough for really anybody to ride here. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you'll probably be familiar with this section of Cycleway 5. What you might not know about is where I'm going to take you in a moment once we get across the river. Westminster Council has been busy putting two-way cycling on one-way streets. I think they've put about a dozen different contraflows in the last 6 months or so. Well, one of those new contraflow lanes creates a really nice backstreet route into Victoria Station and connects really nicely with Cycleway 5 and Vauxhall Bridge, which we'll be going over in a bit. Victoria Station has always been a bit of a pain to reach by bike, I think. It's in the middle of quite a busy gyratory and there are fast and wide roads either side of it. But this route does allow you to sort of sneak up very close to the main entrance of the station without having to brave any ridiculous horrible roads. I've used starting in Stockwell as an example, but really it's useful for getting to Victoria from quite a few places in South London. I will do more videos showing those as well, so do make sure that you hit subscribe so you don't miss any of them, and let me know in the comments if there are any particular places you'd like to see me reach Victoria Station from, so I can prioritise them for videos. For now though, we are continuing along Cycleway 5 in the direction of Vauxhall Bridge. This section of the route is on a really nice two-way protected cycle track, and there's a good dedicated cycle crossing over the road and under the railway here. This video was shot on a Sunday morning and there are a few people cycling about, but if you come here during commuting hours, The whole junction is absolutely rammed with people on bikes. I think that this is such a popular commuting route because it's the safest way to get over the River Thames from this particular part of South London, and the infrastructure is pretty good. Do make sure that you give way at the zebra crossing here, by the way. I do sometimes see people speed through it, but of course, like any zebra crossing, you should give way to pedestrians who are trying to cross the cycle path. The protected cycle lane over Vauxhall Bridge is really very good, although it is a bit narrower than it should be. If you look on the left hand side, you can see that that crash barrier is actually sitting next to the original curb, which is why the left hand lane is narrower than the right hand lane. Now at the end of this bridge you can take decent cycle lanes right into Westminster, left towards Chelsea Bridge, or you can do what we're going to do, which is we're going to go straight on past Pimlico. This cycle lane was actually intended to be the first part of the Cycle Superhighway 5 route under Boris Johnson, but it was never completed and did not run all the way into Victoria as it was supposed to do. But now, thanks to the new contraflow that Westminster Council has installed, we can go the last kilometre to Victoria Station running parallel to Vauxhall Bridge Road on quiet back streets. What you need to do is turn off right at Regency Street, which is where the cycle lane ends, and then immediately turn left onto Douglas Street. The first part of Douglas Street is two-way for all traffic, but until the last month or so you would have run into a no entry sign here. But now there's a no entry sign and an accept cycles sign, plus this little painted mandatory cycle lane. This fills a really frustrating gap in the route, which previously made it illegal to do the journey which we're doing now, despite the streets themselves being nice and quiet. Now there is still one issue with this route, and that is Vincent Square is still a one-way system, as you can see from the arrows on the ground. So if you're doing this route in the opposite direction, you are technically supposed to go all the way around the whole square to get to Douglas Street. I think there's a really strong case for putting a contraflow on Vincent Square as well, and I don't really imagine that everyone is going to be doing that big detour of Vincent Square when they do this route in the opposite direction. I should also say that Rochester Row, which was the street we were just on a second ago, is a little bit more busy than the other streets in this route, so just be careful even though you're only on there for a brief second. If this route were ever turned into an official cycleway, I think it would make sense to have some sort of crossing or short section of protected cycle track there, just to make it a really high quality route. Make sure you look up at the mansion blocks on Carlisle Place, by the way. I think they're really quite unique in London for this particular style of architecture, and they are undeniably very impressive. I should also say that Carlisle Place is a one-way street, and if you're doing this route in the opposite direction, you'll want to go down Morpeth Terrace, which runs exactly parallel to it, and the entrance to which we just passed on the right there. Now that we're at Victoria Street, I'm going to dismount from my bike and just walk around the corner to show you that we've arrived at Victoria Station, which is just over the pedestrian crossing here. If you are using a Santander cycle or Boris bike, you can find a rank for them next to the Duke of York pub on the right, near where we finished. But there we are, we've made it to Victoria all the way from Stockwell, and it didn't take that much longer than getting the Victoria line, which is an incredibly fast tube line, so I think you can probably agree that that is a pretty good route. It's a shame about Vincent Square. I really think that an extra contraflow there would make the whole thing just feel a little bit more polished. Do let me know in the comments if there are any other one-way streets in the city, particularly in Westminster, that you would like to see have two-way cycling. Do leave a like if you enjoyed the video, as it does boost the video in the YouTube algorithm and helps other people find it. And thank you so much to everyone who contributes on the Patreon. If you're feeling generous and you like my work here, you can always contribute as well. I'll leave a link in the description below the video for those of you who are that way inclined. And make sure that you hit subscribe on the channel, as I'll be posting new videos just like this every week. I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.